Yeah.
Good evening. Good evening. If I could introduce the captain, Richard Hall.
Welcome. Officially a brief for passing on to the others. First, just a reminder of where we've come from. The long-term strategic plan was approved by the members back in 2015. But it wasn't really a vote. So last year was quite significant when we put it to the members' vote, and it was overwhelmingly supported both to accelerate the works and to raise £3.5 million by way of bond financing. So far, so good. Bond financing is oversubscribed, the money raised and deposited at rates in excess of the coupon on the bond. Thank you very much, Tom Bolland. Nice interest earned. My building works are almost completed, but he's got nice hard and dry. So the phase one of the works was completed on time and a little under budget, in fact. Thanks to some very rigorous project management by David and disciplined project controls, because there were variations along the way. So far, so good. The drainage works, I think we all think, have demonstrated their value by leaving the lower holes much drier through the wet winter months. And the redesigned holes 1, 12, and 18 reopened, what I think we all think is general acclaim in the spring. 18 in particular, it's very popular because at least it's a hole working 30 or a par finish. But we have to recognise we're only halfway through a very major capital works program. With all the attendant uncertainties of unforeseen ground conditions, weather, war, disease, plagues of Egypt, etc., etc. And the phase 2 works are just scheduled to begin the end of this month. So there will be disruption. There will be hull closures during the winter months, 5 hulls closed ashore, intermittently others where we do finish off the irrigation and drainage works. So we again are left asking is to be patient. I'm a little bit conscious that there may be a bit of a sense of denial around the bar that we're about to dig up what of course it is playing so well at the moment. And following on after 18 months of COVID, it really is a bit of a stretch. But we have to acknowledge the improvements to date, and we have to have faith in the plan. Now, there's a lot of work to be carried on in terms of remediation, reseeding, regrowing, and we have a huge debt of gratitude to Nick and his team for their dedication to the task, their commitment to delivering the course in the best possible condition. The building down all these changes will take time, and I think Nick says it'll be the autumn 24 before things really start to come through as the finished product. So we must expect ground under repair. We must expect a lot of work continuing through the year. Cleanability, of course, will be a test when we open the 18 again. Redesign can be more sensitive to new design because we all remember the course as it was. We carry with us that memory and make comparisons accordingly. I'm sure I can remember hitting those par 4s and 2 one day. That tweaking and adjustment is part of the life and soul of the golf club, and we must expect that to continue over the future years as we meet these challenges. So, 8 years on from the original consultation, I think we can feel some weariness, but we signed up a top course architect to deliver a premier golf course in the cult tradition. And I think we all agree we have to finish what we started. It'll be a fitting celebration of that tradition to have the course remodeled, drained, irrigated, and fully open for business in time for the cult centenary in 2024. In addition to recognizing Paris, we must acknowledge the contribution of David Lindsay and his Green Committee. We are truly fortunate to have had someone of David's expertise and experience at the helm through these difficult times. I should also mention the contribution of the midwives, Greg, Ian, and Chris. Thank you for keeping us on track. So tonight's presentation is not a new consultation, but rather a reminder of what we signed up to, what we can expect. So let me hand over now to others who can speak to all of this with much more authority.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
If I just do a little bit of housekeeping, first of all,
Deco.
just let me get people in.
Good.
There's a few of you coming in. There'll be a few more. I'm going to switch to the slide deck in a second, but just so everybody's aware, we are recording this meeting, so please moderate your language. And if you're online, please put your sound to mute, as most of you have, or all of you have done so far. And if you've got any questions, there should be a little chat bubble up in the top. Just type your questions in there, and then we'll moderate a Q&A at the end of the meeting, at the end of the presentation. So at that point, I'm going to share the screen and hand over to David, who will make the presentation.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Captain. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a milestone. After many, many years, we're finally at the point where we're ready to start the final push in the redevelopment of our golf course and enhancements such as drainage and irrigation. So I'm just waiting for Robert to bring this up. Thanks. That's
That's interesting. Full term. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a lot to cover. I'll keep going whilst the tech gets sorted out. A lot to cover. What we'll be starting in a few weeks' time, I intend to run through the designs that we presented to members almost 2 years ago, took the feedback, tweaked them, have them costed, and we're ready to go, as is the tech, it would seem, which is great. Part of the work includes lifting 4 greens. I'd like to give you some insight as to how we went about evaluating what was to be, or why they needed to be lifted, and what we believe the redesigned greens will give us in terms of pinability. So the science behind it. I'll touch on the programme, how long it's going to take, costs the captain has mentioned, but I'll cover that off briefly. Then we move to Q&A, and if you still have stamina, we'll head out onto the course and have a look. So let's get started.
Next one.
Next one. Next one. Good. Right. So there are 6 headings really. Oh, thank you. Remodeling. We are going to remodel holes 3, 4, 15, and 16. We're going to be doing work to the greens at 4, 14, and 16, and we're going to be completely rebuilding the 15th green where the drainage has failed. We'll be installing primary drainage to the carries and the rough on 3 and 4. We'll be installing secondary drainage to the entire holes at 3, 4, 14, 15, 16, and the practice ground. And we need to come back to 18, the right-hand side, where we built the banks up as part of the work we did there last year. The ground was too unstable to put the secondary drainage in there. So we'll attend to that this year. We will be replacing the irrigation on 3 and 4, and we now need to go back to the holes that we've already remodeled to complete the installation of the new irrigation to those holes, and that's 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So if we, and we'll go into the detail of that, and really, before I get going, I'd just like to remind ourselves as to the sort of guiding principles that we had when we were putting or considering the designs. And those guiding principles were to make the course as playable and as enjoyable as possible for all standards of player, to be more forgiving for the shorter players, to be more strategically challenging for the longer players, more visually appealing with Colt-inspired bunkers and the consistent use of paths, and faithful to the heritage of our course. So let's get to it. So the third hole, starting at the very top, the work here is predominantly rebunkering, drainage, and irrigation. There's no change to the current tees, and there's a new path, rubber surface path will be installed to take us down to the fairway where we meet the new purple tee at 2 that will be installed to help shorter hitters, give them a greater opportunity of getting to the bottom of the slope with their drive. I'm going to jump to 7. which is the two cross bunkers, which are currently visually very strong, but unfortunately really only serve to catch the balls of the shorter hitters and thereby penalising them. The longer hitters generally sail over those bunkers. So these are viewed as a penalty against shorter hitters and are to be removed. In order to make the hole more challenging, however, the existing bunker at 6 on the left-hand side is to be removed. It's not really in play. It sits in the rough, which is not really the most effective place for a bunker. So it will effectively be moved out into the fairway, moving directly right. And behind it to the left, the new bunker will be constructed. And we feel that that will maintain the visual impact that we've got on the tee with the cross bunkers. But more importantly, it will provide a greater challenge to the longer hitters off the tee and pose them some questions. The yardage to clear that bunker is 295 yards on the right, and it is 267 yards to the front of the left-hand bunker. So for most of us, it probably won't affect us. But certainly for the longer players, it is intended to pose strategic questions of them. We've covered 7. On 8, the bunker front right, that is going to be extended into the approach by about 6 meters. So it will block off part of the front of the entrance to the green. And the rationale behind that bunker is presently balls landing just to the left of it tend to kick off right. So it's intended that those balls will no longer head off right down the bank, but will settle in the bunker. To compensate for that, the left-hand bunker, which has a red X through it, will be shifted left. And between the new bunker at 9 and the green will be a closely mown swale. So we believe that will provide an opportunity for running shots up the left-hand side between the two bunkers to the green. The new bunker at 9 will also afford some protection to the 4th tee for any shots that are low and running. So I think that is the proposal for the third, which obviously includes the drainage that I mentioned, the carries in the rough with primary drainage, the entire hole with secondary drainage and new irrigation throughout. Sorry? No, that's the current. It's a bit of a wetland. It was originally a pond in Woolley Park Stay. We could try and do something with that. We've paused that. There are some newts and whatnot down there. There's some environmental sensitivities about doing what there. We may well make that just a red stake area and free drop, but that's to be considered. I think it's something that could be developed in time, but it's a bit tricky for now.
What's the thinking behind the bunkers number 9? So quite away from the green.
Yeah, it was because 8 moves out by about 5 meters into the approach. That has the effect of closing down the entrance to the green and encouraging shots in from the left. To leave the existing bunker to the left of the green makes the entrance almost impossible. So it does open it up. It does afford some protection to the 4th. And the swale will introduce some interest front left of the green that is not a bunker. So that's how the hole currently looks. That is how it will look, with the bunkers encroaching on the left on the drive, and a more open approach into the front of the green from the left. And the upper part, Robert. So the upper part of the hole, that's how it looks today. And that is how it will look with the 2 new bunkers and the swale between the left-hand bunker and the green. I should mention that the 3rd green is actually quite a steep one, but there are others, as we'll see later, that are more penalising. So we decided not to do anything with the 3rd green at this point. So the fourth, again, this predominantly involves bunkering and some amendments to the tee. I'm going to jump straight up to the green here. There's a photograph from, I think, the 1926 aerial shots showing a large bunker to the front right of this green. This was a Colt-inspired bunker that by 1930 had been filled in because it was too difficult to maintain. But visually, it was very stunning. So we propose to reinstate that bunker. It will, however, be constructed in a way that is maintainable, and the base of it will be lifted or raised so that the shot up to the green isn't too steep. The other Colt inspiration, again, I don't know if you can pick out in the by 5 in the black and white photograph, was the drive bunker, which Colt had, and we are also going to reinstate that. But let's just start at the tee. So no change to the existing tees. There will be a new purple tee and introduced at 1, which again will aid those of us who are getting shorter to get to the bottom of the slope. The drive is going to be toughened up, I suppose, for the longer hitters. The drive bunker at 5, or the current drive bunker, is essentially brought forward by about 20 yards on the right-hand side, and that will be 285 yards to the front of that from the white tee. And a new bunker, 250 yards to carry on the left, which is about the 150 marker, to give you an idea where it will be installed on the left. So accepting that the drive has become a bit tighter, the burn on the right will be covered, so creating more fairway and space to the right-hand side. As you can see, the yellow lines pushing out to the right. There were two approach bunkers at 6 and 7. 6 has actually already been filled in, and 7 is our favourite riveted bunker. I think Tom Mackenzie observed that the longer players have never been in it, and the shorter players have never got out of it. So I think that's seen as an unnecessarily tough bunker that again just catches the shorter players and doesn't really help their enjoyment of the game. So they will be removed. So the drive's toughened up, but the approach, certainly up the left-hand side, is being eased. I will talk about the green briefly now, but I'll show you why later. The front third of that green is largely lost. Balls hitting the front invariably don't make it up or actually come back to our feet. We've got very few pin positions on that hole, and the intention is to do some work to level the green up and increase pin positions and variety whilst retaining some interest. But I'll give you the detail on that shortly. Sorry, could you go back, Robert? One final point, the steps off the green, that right-hand bank is going to be softened so that we can remove the need for steps, a bit like we did on the left-hand side of the 14th. Thanks. So the fourth, as it currently looks, and how it will look with the two new bunkers introduced, the approach pot bunker up the left removed, and in the distance two large bunkers set into the face of the bank on the right. And the green, again, with the two new bunkers. So to 15. This hole also is about tees, bunkering, and the green. The intention is to, not the intention, we will be re-providing or reconstructing the green in its entirety. This green is short, as you probably remember from the winter. Right-hand side is very, very wet. So the drainage, we believe, is gone. So we're providing to reconstruct that green in its entirety. I'm sort of wondering how much detail to go into. I'll talk you through the philosophy on this hole. So replace the green, reconstruct all of the tees, and introducing a yellow tee, which is about 40 yards forward of the existing whites, to provide options. Winter, it's quite a long hole. We could arguably play from there more regularly. In front of that, that's at 1. And then as drawn, the 2 was intended to be a new ladies' tee. And between the 2 and the 3 adjacent to the current ladies' tee is going to be a new purple tee. We're having some discussion about merging the ladies' tee and the purple tee to make a longer platform. So the ladies' distance will be more or less the same, but we'll have flexibility to move back and forward along that tee to create interest during the seasons. The exciting things here, I think, are the introduction of new bunkering to the fairway. So the right-hand bunker, if you recall that will be removed and will effectively piggyback the second and come out into the fairway. That's intended to provide greater challenge to the longer hitters, and that will become even more of a decision for them, because we're also introducing a bunker on the left-hand side at about 225 yards from the back of the front tee. Sorry, 225 yards to carry. So the drive for the longer hitters is becoming tighter. For those that don't want to take on the carry in the left-hand bunker, then they have decisions to be made about whether and where they play their drives. I think for most of us, it probably doesn't affect what we do. Again, in the philosophy of making the hole more accessible for shorter hitters, the right-hand bunker at just above 6, which you can just about see in the shadows, and the front right-hand bunker will both be removed. So there'll be a clear line of play up the right-hand side, bunker free for those that wish to run up or lay up. The existing bunker at 7 will essentially be moved forward, and the two additional bunkers will be constructed. Visually, it will look a bit like 1. Left-hand side of 1, as it currently is, a line of bunkers in the bank, and then the new path to the right-hand side. So with drainage, secondary drainage being installed throughout, that gives us the opportunity to unify the fairway, which currently stops around that bunker at 7. There's a bit of rough, and then the approach opens up. So the plan is that the entire fairway is 1, and there's greater opportunity for running shots for those who prefer to do that up the right-hand side. So the budget and the philosophy, the budget contains everything, obviously, that we're planning on doing here: new tees, series of bunkers, and a new green. The philosophy is make it harder for the longer hitters, make it more accessible for the shorter hitters. I say that because in the last week, our architect has brought to our attention that there is another design option for that green, which involves moving it slightly further to the left. There is some flat ground there. It's unfortunate that that's come at this particular point in time, but nevertheless, we are reviewing that and examining whether and what consequential changes would be needed to accommodate that if that's what we did. So that's top of our list at the moment in terms of how we're spending our time. And for those of you who saw us out on the course earlier, that's what we were doing, was having a good look at it. So it will largely look like it does now. The green may slide slightly towards the number 8. And if that happens, then we might have to play around with some of the bunkering, and we'll be revisiting the distances from the tees. Thank you.
Bunkers in the middle of the fairway, be for the ladies' tee.
So the ladies' tee is 349 versus 50 is about 70 yards. Is that right? Just actually wrote it down. Sorry, bear with me.
Danny, I got it.
I've got it here. I wrote it down because I anticipated somebody might ask me that question.
Yep.
So, yeah, the red tee is 319 yards.
No. Yes. I don't know what's going on.
That's not right. Sorry, 349. 60 yards. So to carry the left-hand one is going to be about 160 yards. And to the front of the right-hand one is going to be about 180 yards.
David Lindsay, I think.
Well, the present situation is the ladies' tee is more or less where it is. It will end up being more or less where it is currently. And the front, sorry, the right-hand bunker, the first right-hand bunker is being removed. Removed.
That one's going.
Yes,
A new one there.
there are. So the current left-hand bunker,
It's way up.
and a new bunker will be constructed. So if you can imagine the existing right-hand bunker, the first one piggybacks the second one into the fairway. Yeah, it's not, yes, you are. There is quite a lot of flat ground up there, surprisingly.
15.
Where all that long grass is to the left is remarkably flat. It won't go. It won't go all the way to that, John. It's a matter of yards. It's about 5 yards left, I think, or back and left. So it's being evaluated and examined.
By piggybacking that far right bunker over into the fairway,
Yep.
aren't you penalising a good shot?
I think it's to carry. It's 265 yards off the back tees. Many of our longer players can probably carry that. Some of us can't. It's intending to introduce challenge or strategic challenges to those on the tees that can actually get that far. There is a line up the left. It's longer to carry the right hand side than it is to carry the left. So choices to be made.
I just want to understand it,
Peter.
that's all.
We have to play the courses.
And why?
Bloody well got it.
Peter, your sound is on. I've asked the rails online to mute
Sorry.
their sound and then ask questions via chat.
Sorry. How do I lose the sound? So sorry.
There should be a little microphone image just towards the top of your screen. There you go. Thank you, Peter.
To help, from the yellow tee, to give you an idea, the yellow tee is 40 yards further forward. So to carry the left hand one is going to be 180 yards, and to clear the right hand one will be 225 yards. I don't have that dimension currently. Sorry. The left hand one is, as you can see, just it's coming in from the existing rough. It does sit in the fairway rather than the rough.
Which would penalise a decent shot apart from the yellow tee.
Well, to carry it is 180 yards.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying it penalises a good shot.
Not a good shot if he goes in one.
Thank you.
Good, sir.
His tee and I think his tee is not that much further forward than the yellow tee or even blue tee. So to carry that bunker on the left is not possible for shorter ladies.
So the ladies' red tee is currently 319 yards. It's almost 100 yards forward from the whites, which means it's 125 yards to carry the left-hand one. And
Babies can't reach the 13.
I don't know is the answer. I think
Certainly they.
um,
Yeah, so right.
yeah, the right hand shot is longer.
You're going to be doing left hand bunker, you're not going to hit right hand bunker.
Correct. Yes. It's 40 yards to longer down the right to clear the trouble than it is down the left. Okay.
No, well, from my point of view, so I'm
Yeah.
hitting a longer ball, at the moment I can hit my ball over those bunkers on the
Yes.
right. But they're gonna move that bunker
Yeah.
over and I'm gonna basically end up in a bunker rather than in the rock.
If you hit the wrong shot.
So I've got to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 15th as we know it and how it will look.
That second bunker is gonna be a nightmare for anyone.
It's slightly misleading. The bunkers will actually be on an angle. But yeah, that's the proposed bunker.
Move up to the green.
We haven't got a green.
Yeah, I hit 16.
Okay, now some good news. We're moving to 16. Okay, no, right, 16. This is hopefully more straightforward. We are rebuilding some tees, we are doing some bunkering, and we're also tweaking the green. So, and introducing a new rubber path. The big changes here are we want to encourage play down the left. We've still got problems with balls entering the properties on the right-hand side of 16. Last week we received photographs of broken windows, broken roof tiles, which is extraordinary, but that is the case. So we want to encourage play to move down the left. So in order to achieve that, we're removing the two bunkers on the left-hand side. And in order to introduce greater challenge for our longer players, we're introducing two new bunkers in the fairway, two drive bunkers, one short right of the existing one and one further into the fairway beyond the existing one to the left. So a line of bunkers, which to carry off the back tee will be 291 yards.
This is the 16.
This is 16.
So you're removing the two on the left.
Yes, that'll be,
Lines.
no, not the right. We want to move play to the left. So we're toughening up the right and we're making the left-hand side easier. Continuing the theme of making the left-hand side easier, we're removing the bunker at 5. That's one again that catches shorter players. And the existing pot bunker at 6 will also be removed.
7 is a new bank.
7 is a new bunker, which will largely flank the right-hand side of the green. This is another green that will have its front lifted. And the new bunker on the right-hand side will stop the shot we all fear, which is hitting the bank and ending up in the bamboo, which is also gone. So probably up to the boundary fence now. So that's the philosophy behind the changes to this hole. Shift the line of play to the left and ask some questions of the longer hitters.
The green between the two cross bunkers, the bunkers that you've got cross there, well, that's still steep slope, steeply to the right.
So
Movement, if you hit, you're in the end up right.
it does, yeah. So we're not reprofiling the fairway. So there still will be a slope left to right. So a running shot will go to the right, but it won't end up in the pot bunker, I suppose, is the good news. If it's that strong, it won't end up in the bamboo, which is also good news. It should be caught by the flank bunker, which again will have its bottom raised, so it's not too far below the hole.
Is it totally necessary to move that bunker which is on the right of green? It seems a little bit like tinkering for the sake of it.
I think we see the introduction of the bunker to the right, the long bunker down the flank, as being beneficial. The front of the green is actually going to move back slightly. I don't know if you can see the black line on that's the existing green front, and the green area with the sort of solid green line around it is where the new front of the green will be. So actually, the existing pot bunker will be dislocated from the green. It'll be too far back from where the front of the green will be.
It'll be moved right and further on.
Yeah, it's going to be a longer bunker down rather than a pot, a sort of deep, smallish bunker. This will be quite a long one that runs along the side to stop stuff kicking right.
Everything being done to the level of the green.
Yes. And I'll come on to the detail of that. No, don't apologize. So yes, the front of the green is going to be shortened because that area is just not usable, and the next 30 to 40% of it will be lifted to make it more pinnable.
Move on to it.
Yep. So 16 as it currently looks, and as it will look. So as you can see, the direction of travel on the bunkers is funneling people down the left, and you can just about make out the new bunker flanking the right-hand side of the green. So 2 greens, and it's probably an appropriate point to discuss this. The proposal is to raise the fronts of 3 greens, 4, 14 and 16, which we and the architect consider to be too steep. And as a result of increased green speeds, they are largely unpinnable. We've got very, very few pin positions on those greens. The same is true of 15. However, because the drainage is short, we are going to reconstruct that entire green all the way down, replace the drainage and build it back up. So as I mentioned, the rationale behind this is increased green speeds over time have meant that the slopes on those greens are now such that they mean that we can no longer pin it in as many positions as we'd like. And I'll show you exactly what I mean in just a moment. So the intention here is to be able to increase pin positions, thereby providing variety, fairness, dare I say. And it's important that we do this at the same time that we are constructing the greenside bunkers, because they are an integrated system in terms of locations. And I'd like to share with you really how we were informed as to the problem that we have, and how we're convinced that the solution that's proposed will deliver the objectives that we've set in terms of variety, pin positions, fairness. So, Robert, if we can go back one. Right, so I thought I'd start with something that we're all familiar with, the 17th green. I think we can all get our heads around just how steep that green is and how tricky it can be. So I'm going to take you on a journey here, and it's going to be the same journey for each hole. So I hope you can see the logic behind the approach. So the left-hand slide, this is not a radioactive accident. This is about the slopes on our greens, and we established what they were by using a thing called LiDAR, which is a laser scanner, basically. So we scanned our greens, and it is hugely detailed, and it gives us the minutiae of the slopes across all of our greens. So the left-hand side is the 17th hole at a green speed of 6 feet on the stimp, which is pretty much what it would have been when Colt designed it. Green speeds were around that speed at that time. And what the left-hand chart tells us is that it is possible to put green, to have pin positions on anything that's green. Orange and red you can't, and yellow you can just about get away with as long as it's close to green. So orange and red is bad, green's good, yellow is just about all right at the extreme. What the right-hand chart tells us or shows us is what is not pinnable at a green speed of 11 feet, which is where we currently are. So the impact of faster greens over time, given the slopes that are in those greens, means on the right-hand side, we've got very, very few pin positions. So a few years ago, we had to relift, or we had to lift the 17th green and relay it to deal with the drainage there. And the instruction that the committee of the day passed down to the architect was that the green has to go back as a tricky, difficult green. So that's what happened. And if we go to the next slide, Robert. So the left-hand chart is the old green at 11 feet on the stimp, and the right-hand chart is the green that we constructed under instructions to keep it fierce. And that shows us that we've got a few more pin positions, but actually it's still a really tough green. And that's fine, it's a short hole, we can probably accommodate that, but we all know what that green feels like. So as we go through this process for the next set of holes, just think, and you see orange and red, just think what that looks like vis-a-vis the current 17th green to give you a sense of the problem that we're trying to fix. Robert. Right, so we can jump to, oh, sorry, just to finish off then, right-hand chart is the green that we've built at a green speed of 11. Left-hand chart is the original Colt green at 6. So, you know, part of our rationale is reinstate elements of the Colt design where it makes sense to do so. And one of those guiding principles is greens and variety and having choices, even at today's green speeds. So we didn't quite get that right at 11, but that was a positive decision at the time. But as I say, just think about orange and red in terms of difficulty. So existing fourth green, left-hand side, as it was designed, or as it currently is, at a green speed of 6 feet. As Colt would have intended it to have been played, largely pinnable, steep front. Right-hand side today, at 11 feet, we've lost the front third of the green, and the right-hand side is largely lost as well. It's orange areas, and the areas of green where we can reasonably put pins is massively reduced. And that's why, I mean, virtually every time I play, the pin's quite near the back, towards the center of the green. That's why. So, left-hand slide is today at 11 feet. The right-hand slide is the intended effect or impact of the lifting and reprofiling of the green. So we lose the front part of the green, the really dark red, it has gone. We've actually lost that. It is no longer putting surface, but arguably it wasn't putting surface anyway, because any balls lying on or landing on that wouldn't stay. We lift the front half of the green to create more green areas. But we do retain some of the orange in the upper right-hand side just to maintain interest in the green. And what this should give us, looking at the direction of play from the bottom, is a variety of pin positions at the front and still some interest up the center on top of the green. So very many more pin positions and a fairer green, insofar as if you're now landing on the front, there's every chance that you'll stay on it. So
It'll be steeper up.
it will be, I think the height difference is about 300 mil. So it's less than half a meter height change. We went through an analysis of examining the impact on club selection, and it's less than half a club difference. But the reality, I think, today is if you were landing just beyond the red, on the left hand slide, your ball probably wouldn't stay on the green anyway. So in order to get to where we want you to get to on the right hand side, you would have had to take another half club.
This is the next slide.
So yeah, sorry, this is the final slide on this hole. Left hand side, Colt at 6 feet, right hand side, proposed green at 11. I think there's an interesting, there's sufficient interest remaining in that green to keep us going, and variety. So same approach on 14, left hand side, Colt at 6. That's how he intended the green to be played. Some options towards the front. Right hand side, the same green at 11 feet. We've completely lost the front. Can't pin it. And actually, given the length of that hole is now, the lack of pin positions at the front, particularly in the winter, does make a difference. So left-hand side, current green, right-hand side, proposed green. We have mowed out the front, so we've actually created a slightly longer green that's already there, but it's still not pinnable. So the plan here is to lift pretty much half the green and re-profile it so that we have got a number of options towards the front of the green, and obviously the back is fine. And I think that will help with wear as well. In the winter time, everybody's up the back, and it does get worn. So left-hand side, Colt at 6, right-hand side, proposed green at 11. 15th hole, process is the same. Left-hand side, Colt as originally designed at a 6 feet on the stimp. Right-hand slide is as we play it today. And I think we all know that the front of that green is very penal. Approach shots, short approach shots very often don't stay on the green, and the pin positions that we can use are all very much towards the rear. So the proposal, as I said, was to completely rebuild that green, make it slightly larger as it happens, and to increase the options, the pinnable options, by reprofiling it. So back, middle and front, we've got left, right and centre pin options all the way up the green. So left-hand side then is Colt as originally intended. Right-hand side is what the reprofiled green would look like if that's what we do in terms of the position of the green. But the philosophy will be identical. Multiple pin positions, front, centre, back. So 16. Colt intended that most of that green could be used, and unfortunately, as a result of increased green speeds, we can use very, very little of that green. I think we're all familiar with the approach shots that hit the front and end up in the pot bunker, or just roll back down the fairway, or downhill putts where your next shot's a wedge back up. The effect of returning more of this green, or most of this green, to use is essentially to lose the front node, which is essentially red and can't be used in any event. So I don't think we're giving very much up there. To raise the front half of the green, but retaining some interest in the middle, we will still have a bit of a steep orange bank there, just in the upper half. But far more variety. The pin positions at the top will retain. We'll now have some in the middle, and we'll also have some at the front. And then the comparison between what Colt intended versus what we're delivering. So still lots of interest in that green, I feel, but more variety. So I hope you enjoyed that. I mean, I was amazed really at the level of detail that this LiDAR analysis gives us. And I think it tells us what we secretly all know, but it does put into sharp contrast those red and orange areas of the greens that are just unusable. they are lost to us. So it's good that we can recover that and provide more variety and fairness to everyone.
So effectively, what you're doing is flattening all the greens which have got the false.
Yeah, it's lost greens. Yeah, so we're sort of chopping off the lost bit that we just can't. It's
False plants are being removed and being flattened, is that right?
yeah, they're being removed, and beyond them, it's being raised slightly in order to give us a more level, less penal green. So, program of works. As the captain mentioned, this is the big one, really. The scope of work that we're taking on in this phase is by far more significant than we've done in any other phase. We are unfortunately going to have to touch more holes. The lower holes will be closed from July, end of this month, until the spring, realistically. And there will be periodic interruption to other holes as we finish drainage, but finish irrigation. So Abbott's will be arriving 24th of July. They will be getting their compounds and whatnot established, and they will leave site on the 6th of December. And during that time, they will remodel 3 and 4. They will remodel 15 and 16. They will do all the green work, the tees, install the irrigation to all of the holes, and they will complete the drainage. So in terms of how the impact is 3, 4, 14, 15 and 16 will be closed from the end of July until the end of the spring, or until the spring. Despite Abbott's leaving in December, there is an enormous amount of work for Nick and his team to do, remediating the ground, turfing, and allowing things to bed in and grow in. The program of work, the remodeling work will start on 15 and 16. The greens and surrounds will be the first things that get done. And in parallel, a separate team, the drainage team, will start work on 3 and 4. And when they are finished that, then they move across and start moving up the fairways on 14, 15 and 16. The objective is to have all of the drainage completed by mid-October, when the ground historically, when the rains start, and we can't, or we struggle to get heavy equipment down there. So that is one of the reasons we're starting so early, is to allow the kit, the heavy equipment, to be off-site before it gets wet. Irrigation installation to the holes that we've already remodeled, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, will also start in August. We've agreed with Abbott's that they will only work on one hole at a time. So there won't be the need to close any more holes other than the one that they are working on at that point in time. So that is the agreed methodology. It's quite complex around the 6th hole, the 11th, the 10th, and the 7th, where we've got the camp. Historic England are very keen to ensure that we do all of the right things vis-a-vis artifacts and whatnot that we find. So we've agreed a working practice with them, which we hope will allow us to do that efficiently. But if we do discover things, then I suspect they will want to be standing over our shoulders as we go through the installation. So that may slow things up, but we believe, Nick, that we can get through that without too many incidents. So as I said, Abbott's are gone in December, and then Nick and his team get to work in earnest to prepare and repair the course ready for opening in the spring. So costs, the captain summarised where we were. We've got a very good working process to deal with change, because change is inevitable and it does happen. And it's a tripartite thing between Nick and his team, Abbott's, the green team. Well, it's not tripartite, there's 4 of us, and finance, who Tom and his team take a very close interest in what we're doing on costs. So There were some additions, there were some omissions, and there were a couple of things that we couldn't do, such as the drainage in 18 last year that's been flipped over into this year. So yes, we're very happy that we came through phase one as anticipated. We've got phase two costings from Abbott's. There's 3 things that they've included that we were surprised to see that weren't in their original quotes. And we have a meeting on Friday that will involve our discussion and negotiation over those. But our modelling includes all of those costs currently. So we expect that to come out, or hopefully that will be reduced, but we're modelling it. Club costs, we've increased the allowances available to Nick so that the finish can be at a standard that we want. So additional budget for turfing and making sure that when we do get back onto those holes, we are delighted with them. Overall, I don't know if you recall from the presentations we gave in May last year, we had to estimate inflation and we tried to do that in conjunction with Abbott's. So we made provisional sums for inflation for this year, but also for last year. And I'm pleased to say that those were conservatively based, and we came in under those allowances. And the expectation for the overall project is that it will be completed within the budget. So I know we picked up some questions as we gone, but we're gone along, but I'd be very happy to answer any more. And Robert, you're going to keep us on the straight and narrow.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Well, first of all, is there any questions in the room? And if anyone that's online wants to submit any questions, please do. I don't think there has been any online yet.
You said about what originally in your introduction that you're going to replace the drainage on 3 and 4. Is that correct?
Not entirely. A few years ago, I think under Andy Bird's stewardship, we installed drainage on 3 and 4. That was limited to what we call primary drainage pipes, just to the fairways. What we didn't do is put those pipes into the rough or the carries. So in the winter time, the rough on both those holes is actually pretty soggy. So the plan is to extend those pipes into the rough and to install them into the carries. In addition, we're going to be doing this thing called secondary drainage, which is essentially cutting sand into the profile down to the pipes at right angles, so it feeds the water down into the pipes quicker.
So, great presentation. As one achieves 40, and is any thought to be given to trying to make 40 more inches?
Yes.
Because whilst it's extremely difficult, it's very long. It's like driving into a field. It is a very narrow hole.
Yes.
Oh, good.
No.
The 14, if you're going to reconsider it, would you also consider the carry from the tee to the fairway?
Yep.
I'm sure it's been extended. I mean, I'm not a long hitter or a agree any longer, but I can carry it now, but in the winter.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's very fluffy before you reach the fairway. And if you hit the ground before you hit the fairway, you stay.
Yeah.
You've already shortened the hole there by 20 yards.
Yeah, I appreciate the problem. We actually just
when the bunker was taken away, yes, there's a pothole and there's fluffy there.
Yeah.
But it's also fluffy beyond.
Yeah.
When you stop them.
Yeah.
Sure.
The 14th we discussed at the Green Committee last week. We brought the fairway back as close to the tee as we can currently, and the restriction or the impediment is irrigation. We don't have irrigation back towards the tee, therefore we couldn't maintain the grass if we were to make it a lot shorter. And I know Nick is looking at whether that's extending the irrigation into that area can be done in order that we can bring the fairway back closer to the tee. I'm not sure what the answer is on 12.
We did discuss 12 as well, and I
Yeah.
think you were going to look at bringing that back towards.
Yeah, the intent with 12 is to make entire carry fairway length.
Sorry?
The entire carry, 12 will be fairway eventually.
At the moment, it's
Yeah, you
carries.
see, so because
It's
it was so
it's-
so long, we have heavily fed 12, but we've heavily watered it to try and get the grass growing through there. In order to prepare a surface that we can then eventually cut this fairway. It's not quite ready for that yet. The fairways haven't changed, but 14 and 12 haven't moved from the position. I just agree that the carries are now longer in terms of the grass thickness. So we're going to look to take 12 back certainly a little bit further, which we can do with 12 because we have irrigation. The 14 is a lot more complex because we're in the full extent of where the irrigation runs. So we could take it back, or we just end up losing it to the dry weather.
It's being examined in each case.
I'd like to say on 15, I think most of us find 15 actually faster than the one anyway. And you're now adding a reachable bunker, some of us on the left-hand side. But those are for irrigating to manage to draw the ball rather than make it the other way. Is that, how does that fit into the sort of playability? More playable?
I think it's a very good question. I think there are a number of answers to that. There is a difference between the right-hand side and the left-hand side in terms of the danger and where it lies. So for those that are confident in taking on the left-hand side, then carry the bunker. If you don't think you can, then go up the right because it's a longer rollout and you wouldn't be caught by those bunkers. If you understand that the left-hand side is shorter than the right. One thing that we're currently, one of the benefits of the world, the new handicapping system is the ability to use and play different tees. And as part of this exercise, not just this year, but on previous years, we have introduced more tee boxes in an attempt to offer more variety. You know, some of us are not able to hit the ball as far as we did. So one of the challenges for the Green Committee, I think, is to come up with, obviously we have the course, you know, white tee course, yellow tee course and all that good stuff. One of the things that we're sensitive to is our course actually plays quite a lot longer in the winter, for example. So should we be considering a winter course that's a different combination of tees that perhaps on 15 recognises the difficulty of that hole in the winter in particular, when it's probably playing 20 hours longer. So I think for me, that's quite exciting. I was speaking to, and we're maybe not as developed or as comfortable in moving away from the tees that we've customarily played. I think that's a great shame because the advantage of what we're doing is to provide variety. And I've surprised myself and played off the blues one day and it's great. You know, a 9-iron into 8 is a completely novel experience for me. I mean, maybe not for others, but so, you know, I think we can have fun out there. We're putting the infrastructure in place to allow ourselves to enjoy the course more and not don't beat ourselves up. Why play off a tee that we know we can't get to the green in regulation, even with a shot? So I think we should have some fun with that. I'm really excited about what we should be able to do.
So guys, before we come to Adrian, Sue Rose has typed in the chat, will we be able to play any qualifying competitions while the works are being done? And the answer is yes, to a degree, but it will be probably limited to 9 holes, and we will have a measured course for 9 holes that will be approved by England Golf. And Simon and Scott have actually been working quite hard on this week to make sure that we've got lots of variations available for us, so that when irrigation is being done in a certain hole, then we've got a course that we can play that will cover 9 holes. Or if we have got 13 holes open, how it moves up to become an 18-hole golf course with the adjustments that England Golf make. But information about that will come out in the coming weeks in communications to the membership. So thank you for that question, Sue. Adrian?
Just commenting on that, the 15th at the moment, the 15th is almost the widest fairway on the course. Who's taking the space down the left semi-round and short of the right hand bunker, it's a huge amount. If you can't drive over the new left hand bunker, it's par five. It's par five. You might as well hit a 3-wood down the right hand side, hit your next shot safely to the bottom of the hill, and then your par five is played automatically with that.
So easy for you to say.
Still very wide.
I know. It is, it's usually one.
The new yellow tee that we're introducing there is actually 40 yards forward. So again, I just go back to the variety point. We don't need to beat ourselves up all the time. We should have some fun. Actually, I heard today there's a course in East Lothian which has introduced 2 cards. One where when there is an easterly wind, and another one where there's a westerly wind. So, you know, the opportunity is there for us to have some fun and mix it up.
Talk. Tea.
Back. Oh yes, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I look behind it was third and fourth, were very similar with this.
I think
Does that idea being definitively that?
yeah, I think the other driver of why that came about was a desire to turn the 12th into a par 5 and to move its tee further back, and therefore what do you do with the 3rd tee? So I think the decision making was, do we want to make 12 a par 5 or not? And when we said no, then there was less need. There would be huge tree work that, you know, it was going to be quite an expensive move, I think, if yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it could be done in subsequent years if members chose to do so. There was also an option of building further tees back in a straight line to make it even longer, but you'll be pleased to hear we didn't. Yeah.
Any more questions online?
Yeah, just
Oh, sorry.
after nothing, bring shotguns so we can get rid of that.
I'd have to check their license. I'm not sure they go that far, but yes, I think we're sensitive to the challenge down in the 8th and 9th.
Okay. Shall I call? Oh,
So
this
that's
one.
yeah.
Sorry, the rabbits and Nick's here. We have got a pest control, and I think you've been chasing them up or chasing to get a new one that is a little bit more enthusiastic about shooting.
If there are little more questions, just suggest we give a big round of applause.
Yeah.
7 minutes over time.
I think you went on a bit long at the beginning of this. I'm very happy to go out in the course and walk the holes and point at things if you'd like to. The presentation will be uploaded. I mean, the visuals, the photographs, or the images will be available. But as I say, for those that like to, I'm very happy to take a walk. And equally happy to go to the bar.
So I think if people do want to go for a walk, that's great. If you do want to hang back, we did ask you to pre-book for sandwiches. It's all in committee expenses. So we'll get them out if you want to have the sandwiches rather than go for a walk. Equally, they'll be available when you come back and you go out for the course walk as well. I think I've just spotted the treasure here. Thank you. Right, for those online, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.